Hi, everybody. My name is Richard.lesperance, and I go by the name of my man Richard. Welcome to A Better Lifestyle. Today, my guest is Celina Shands, and we got to talk about marketing. I think I could, I think she's, by that time, I think she's a marketing expert. So you guys are going to learn a lot about marketing. Please, Celina, tell a little bit about yourself and tell the people, the audience, like your marketing story, like your journey.
Sounds good. It's good to be back. And thank you for the invite, Richard. Great to see you. Love the podcast. And welcome, everybody. I'm always love talking about branding and marketing because that's totally in my wheelhouse. My accent is from North Carolina, but I've lived in the Bay Area in California and San Diego for 30 plus years. Been out here, and through the course of my career, when you say talk about your journey, it really hasn't been a straight path whatsoever. But I've had three companies. I've sold one, and I've had my current company, which has been a virtual marketing agency for 21 years, that I've grown nationally into a multi-million dollar corporation. We specialize in really helping people understand their brand story and how to reach out specifically to their ideal consumer in order to make those sales or to engage with that customer. I think one of the unique things about us is we've won over 75 global awards with our customers, but it's really been around the process and how we work with customers. And I'm really hoping today to share some tidbits with your audience that might help them start thinking about how they can market their organization in a different way. And also, if I may, share an exciting announcement. Myself and my Vice President of Operations and PR, Annika Jackson, we just made Amazon's best-selling list on our women's anthology called Business on Purpose 2. So it's hit #1 on Amazon in women in business, business etiquette, and service industry. So we're super excited about that. Just wanted to share it.
Yeah, no problem. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I saw, uh, I saw the post on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so tell us, what's the difference, because there's different words out there. What's the difference between marketing, promoting, and advertising? Because
Oh,
sometimes
that's a great question.
so,
Yes.
sometimes people confuse like maybe marketing and promoting. So can you demystify all three of them?
Well, I'll keep it really simple. So, marketing in our terms is really looking at how you position your brand in the market continuously. And you really want to have a unique selling proposition about who you are and what you do, because your brand is all about what people think, feel, and say about your business or your organization. Promotion is really kind of a tactical term, if you will. It can be how you're going out in the market to promote who you are. It could be an actual event, it could be a social media post. So, that's to me more of a tactical way of getting in front of your audience. Advertising is the same thing. That's a tactical approach. It's one way of reaching your ideal consumers who want to buy your product or engage with your brand in a specific way. And it's an important distinction to understand, because when you get out and start setting goals with your organization, you really want to understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and then backtrack into, do I need a strategy? Do I need a tactic here? A lot of folks come to me and they say, okay, we need a brochure, we need a social media account, we need this. And my first question is why? What's the strategy behind positioning your brand? And then we can get to the tactics on how you want to do that.
Okay. So you guys do offline marketing and online marketing, right?
Yes, we do both.
Okay. So let's talk about offline marketing. So I guess you guys do do you guys do TV commercials, radio, and all that? And how do you work with the clients?
Okay, so offline and online are two different important sort of strategies, if you will. So online is just everything online. It's digital, and I will tell you, in the world, we're really in a hot world of digital right now with AI, with everything going on, and it's very important, no matter what you do, that you have an online footprint that is very consistent. So when people go to your website and they see one message, and then they go to your social media posts and you're talking about your brand, or you have an ad campaign running on Facebook, are those messages consistent? So you need to build trust with people, right? So are those messages consistent across all of those touch points, is what we call them. Offline can be things like billboards, events, anything that basically is not online is offline. So a lot of it depends on, what are your goals? Are you seeking to build brand awareness? Are you seeking to get leads into your company for sales? Those are two very different strategies before you would decide, which strategy might be best. And also, your budget has a lot to do with it as well. I would love to say, oh, we could be everywhere all the time for every person. But really, in looking at your brand and developing a marketing strategy, you go into looking at, who is my ideal customer, and breaking those out into different market segments that then you can really figure out, where are these people, so I can go and give them those consistent messages.
Hmm. So when we talk about online, because it's where
Hmm.
like I said, it's where the party's at.
It is where the party's at.
Online, some companies or personal brands, individual might have a hard time succeeding online. What would you say about that?
Well, I feel like it's really important, because you look at all the data points. People are on their mobile phones all the time, right? So even people who like, if a lot of some of the customers we work with are in public sector and nonprofits, workforce and education. Those are two of our sectors. And then our third sector is entrepreneurship, small businesses. But for those other groups that are trying to tack in to underserved populations, say, to get into an education program, even those folks have mobile phones, right? And so when you think about it, if you are not in the online game, and at least coming up with, what am I saying about my brand at these various touch points, it is going to be really hard to do everything offline. So you've really got to get in the game, have a good website, have some good social media presence, and then move from there in terms of where people can find you.
Hmm. Talk to us a little bit about consumer centric.
Oh, customer centric. Yeah, you and I talked about that the last time. So we have a process here, and that is called a customer centric model. And in that, it's really understanding your consumers, your ideal customer profile. And again, when you're doing ideal market segments, you're actually narrowing the market, because not everybody is going to be perhaps using your product or service. So it's really important to understand them. It's understanding them from a demographic point of view, like how old they are, what is their ethnicity, where do they like to hang out online or offline, right? Those types of things, looking at their demographics, and also coupling that with what we call psychographics. What are their motivators, their barriers to engaging with you? What are their beliefs? What are their values? Because the two of them, when you take the demographics and the psychographics together and blend them together, you're going to come up with some profiles. And the profiles are really important then to help you build the right message and then get that message to them. So it's a process behind narrowing versus really expanding. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but you're going to find with limited budgets, it's a better approach because you're going to reach those likely to engage with you or likely to buy your product and service.
When we talk about marketing, there's always a psychology of
Yes.
in
Yes.
in marketing. So what would you say is because I think it's still relevant like today, they always say like it takes 7 times for the person like to actually take action in regards to when they're seeing a product or service. So can you talk about that, like the whole psychology of the marketing?
Yeah, so it takes anywhere from 5 to 12 what we call touch points to engage a consumer or a prospect with your organization. And think about your own psychology when you purchase. Like if you're going to buy a car, Richard, aren't you going to spend a lot more time researching that high purchase item, right, than say some chewing gum at the checkout counter, right? So you can see different products are going to require different approaches, if you will. If I'm selling a car or selling cars, and you notice this at dealerships, you may see an ad, but again, what's in that ad is really important. And what I find is people tend to talk a lot about features versus benefits. And that's a big issue when you're going to market your brand. For example, headphones, they may say, oh, they're wireless. But that's not a benefit, that's a feature. The benefit of that is no more tangled cords. And so you sort of have to get into what is that psychology of problem that you're solving for the consumer, so that message can really come to the forefront. A meal kit is another example. Well, it arrives ready to heat. It's a feature, but it saves time in preparing meals. So you may want to target busy moms or folks that are don't have time to prepare their meals, executives. A vacuum cleaner has a washable lifetime filter. That's a feature, but it can eliminate extra costs. So families on a budget. So you see how you really have to narrow down and get into the psychology of how your product and service is solving an important problem for your consumer. And then layering on top of that, not to make it any more confusing, but you have to show how you're doing that different and better than your competitors. So, what we like to do over here is develop what we call a competitive analysis with the customer. And so, we'll pick out maybe 3 to 5 of their top competitors, and then we do friendly stalking online, and we look at, okay, what is the online footprint for the competitor? We'll look at things like, what do they say about their brand's purpose, their vision, their mission, their values? What is the look and feel of the brand? What are they saying are the benefits, not the features of the projects or benefits? And what are they touting that they do better or differently? So, folks listening to this, if you haven't done that step and really evaluated your messaging, just think about if you go out and market and you're marketing on social media or you're doing an ad campaign or you have a billboard, is that message resonating with your target audience? And if you don't know the answer to that, I would say that you may be wasting a lot of money because you want to get the right message to the right target audience in the right place. So a way to think about this when you're doing this work, you do the competitive analysis, you come up with your messaging, and you want to sort of do 2 things. You want to come up with what we call a positioning statement, which means it establishes how you are different. And you do that through that competitive research so that your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis is on point. Then once you finish that, you want to give a brand promise in your message to your customer, which describes the unique experience you want the customers to have when you interact with your brand. So an example of that, like our brand is called Full Capacity Marketing. Why is that? because our unique selling proposition and how customers experience with this is to basically build the capacity of the company or the organization, whoever we're working with, so that they can be sustainable and succeed after our contract concludes. So they understand all the nuances as we're working with them, say on a website or market research. They are understanding in our processes so that they feel more empowered to move forward. Because one thing, marketing is not a one and done. It's not something you do one time and you're finished with it, right? You've got to continually get your message out to the right target audiences. So that's an example of, how we position in the market and then what we say to our customers.
So we were talking about, it's probably going to be almost the same thing, but we were talking about the marketing purpose. Like if someone is doing marketing, sometimes they're doing marketing for brand awareness, or they're doing it for to achieve sales. So
Right.
can you talk to us about the two and add in like what we were talking about at the beginning, like brand positioning?
Yeah, okay, I'll try. That's a big one there, but let me try. So one of the things that you want to think about is every brand there's a process of going through to getting into sales. The first step is awareness, because if people don't even know you exist, they're certainly not going to buy your products or services, right? So there is an awareness phase of getting out your brand narrative, your unique selling proposition, those brand promises, those messages in a broad sense across all your target audiences. What are some good mediums for doing that? Your website, social media, organic posts, running what we call a traffic campaign, where it's just going online and picking various, whether it's Google or some kind of digital ad platform. Meta has Facebook, Instagram. If these are where your target audiences are, running general messages, not asking them for anything, right? Just general messages about who you are and your value, what you do. That's what we call an awareness phase. You want to get people to the point, and again, remember those 5 to 12 touch points where they're seeing your brand, they're understanding it, which is the next phase. They actually understand your value proposition. They have seen you multiple times now, and they're like, wow, they can really solve this problem X that I'm having. Maybe I'll check them out. And then you also want to build your own list of people who are interested in your product and services and give them information that is of value. So in our world, for example, we do a lot of blogging to help build ourselves as thought leaders. We do eBooks. We have courses that people can take. So it's a way of educating the market and setting ourselves above others in terms of subject matter experts. Once that kind of phase happens and you're out there in the market, then you can start asking people to give you their information, which is golden. Once they give you their contact information, you're starting now to build a relationship with them, whether that's online through your e-newsletter or your blogs. It can also be through targeted advertising as well. But when you get that lead, you're then able to nurture that in a sales funnel where you're giving them valuable information and staying in front of them proactively until you can convert them to an actual sale. So it is quite the process. But I always say, you start with brand awareness and then you funnel down to lead generation. If you go into lead generation too quickly and don't let people know your value and just say, hey, give us your contact information, that doesn't feel very good, does it? And it's like, well, who is this company? You're trying to build trust. And the way you build trust is by relevant interactions with the customer. Did I answer that? I know you
Yes, perfectly.
in everything. Okay.
I just didn't want to forget what we were talking about, but you still have to answer the brand positioning. But before that, I wanted to ask, how long would you say it takes to build trust?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. Okay, I'm going to give you some expedited ways to build trust. The most fastest way to build trust is in your online footprint, whether it's social media, whether it's your website. You want to get customer testimonials from people who have worked with you, where you've garnered results, solved a problem for them. That is one of the best ways, is word of mouth and referral. And when people see other customers and what they say about you, it builds that trust more frequently. The more touch points you have builds trust. So if you're giving a very informative e-newsletter where you're not asking for anything, you're just sharing information about your products and services, maybe a customer story where their lives have changed over your product or services, or it's really seen a great impact. That's the way to expedite trust on a larger scale. So think about that. I think every company is different, and a lot of it, what we see, Richard, is there's not an alignment between the vision, the mission, the values, and their brand promise. And if there is a disconnect on what you are saying in all of these touch points versus what your customer experience is and what you're doing, that's going to eliminate trust. So each company is different, and it requires, I think, leadership and vigilance to really look at, how we operate in the world, what we're actually saying and promising. It really boils down to that. And if you have a consistent track record on being consistent and getting those customer testimonials and results, you're going to accelerate your growth in the market. As a rule, I've seen companies build their awareness. Usually they can start seeing some really good headway in year 3. But it could be accelerated if they have a large budget for marketing and advertising and promotion. Then, it could be accelerated. It's just how fast you can get your message out there and how it resonates with the audience.
Okay. So now what about brand positioning?
Yeah. So brand positioning, let me give you a couple of other examples because I gave our company as one. Rate Genius. If you go and just Google Rate Genius and you go to their website, this is an example of positioning and sort of their brand promise. So their whole thing is they get all of these lending partners together, and then they have this process that helps consumers find the best auto loan rates. And they use their own proprietary platform, and they network, they say, with over 150 lending institutions nationwide. So they're doing the shopping for you, and then you're going online. If you go to their website, they do a great job of just putting their brand promise right there. First of all, Rate Genius is a great name for them, right? Because it's like, hey, we're the subject matter experts in these rates. And you go there, it'll say refinance your auto loan and save. You can apply in minutes. So it's giving you some really good statistics on their website too. It's like the number of loans funded, over 400,000. The average savings is over $101 per month. And certified reviews, they have 4.9 stars. And so you get right away when you get on their homepage what they're about, how they're valued, with their value proposition, and how they're different. The other thing they do really well is they segment their customers. So there's a section for consumers who just want that to shop for the loan rate, and there's a section for lending partners. So they have a consumer model, and then they have a B2B audience as well with their lending partners. So right there within seconds, you can see what they're doing. Now that positioning has to also be shown anywhere they're in the world, whether it's a billboard, offline or online. They need to continually have that consistent message across all of their touch points to build that trust. And then, of course, the consumer testimonials come in, and that also helps them. So that gives you an example. Again, you get to your positioning statement and your brand promise through that competitive analysis process that we talked about earlier, where folks are going through and looking at their top competitors and seeing at the end of the day, what do you do better and different than your competitors? How are you going to turn that into a brand promise and communicate it out into the world? That is a very critical step. Otherwise, if you miss the message, you miss the mark completely. There was a research that I was looking at the other day, and it says consumers see anywhere between 6 and 10,000 messages every single day, advertising messages. When you think about billboards, pop-up, internet ads, television, radio, etc. So how are you going to break through that noise in your marketing efforts, marketing promotion, advertising efforts? And that is to get the right message. So you've got to spend some time on that. And a lot of organizations just skip right over it. You can't do it. You got to go back and pick that up.
Mm. What would you say are the basic fundamentals of marketing?
Basic fundamental of marketing is really understanding your positioning, knowing your products and services inside and out, from the standpoint of that customer lens. It goes back to that customer-centric model that you and I were talking about earlier, where you're understanding how your product is serving a need for those audiences and solving a problem in a very unique and different way than your competitors. Then, of course, how are you going to message that and promote it out into the world, whether that's through advertising or through your social media, whatever that whole marketing strategy is going to be for your brand. Those are really, at the end of the day, the fundamentals. And a piece I would be remiss if I didn't mention is how are you going to measure your success? What are your key performance indicators that is going to tell you that you have the right mix of marketing tools out there that are giving you what you need in terms of leads, in terms of sales? All of those things are super important. And honestly, that's going to differ between each organization depending on their goals.
Mm. Would you say, is there different types of marketing strategies out there that people should be aware of that are for them to be effective?
Well, again, I think the strategy goes back to what are your goals as an organization? What are your mission, vision, values, and then doing the research to make sure that you do have a unique differentiator. And if you don't, you need to find it, right? Because otherwise you're going to get lost in the noise. So to me, it's not the strategy for me is really looking at the research and your market and understanding your customer. Once you have a good handle on that, the rest of these tactics sort of fall into place. Like you'll understand where your consumers are hanging out. So, naturally you're going to go there. You'll know whether it's best to put money in an ad campaign, or maybe you want a key influencer campaign that can help you. Each business is very unique. And I wish there was a magic bullet that you could say, do this and you're going to be successful. But the number one thing is to follow this process and really understand, again, who you are, what you do, who you do it for, how you do it better and different than your competitors.
So if someone wants to set up a marketing campaign, I don't know, let's say for 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year, how can I say that? How long does it take, usually, to get results if done properly?
Well, that's a big one, if done properly. So there are, how do I say, there are brokers out there that just set up ads and let them run, and you're probably not going to get any results on that. The key to getting results in an ad campaign is to optimize your ads and look at where the engagement is best. So we may go through a test run. So first, let me go through all the steps, and I'll do them linearly in a linear fashion so we can follow them. First is, again, complete all that research up front so you understand how you're different than your competitors and what the message is and where your consumers are. That will then tell you, okay, I need to go out on Google, or I'm going to do Facebook, or, I have a community college and I'm going to do a billboard right at the bus stop where everybody's going every day. It's like, where are your consumers, right? if it is online and you're going to do an advertising campaign, you're going to have some creative that is developed. And maybe you're considering two different messages and two different visuals. You can do some A/B testing online, and I would recommend that in kind of an awareness phase when you're getting that message out. And then you look at the analytics and say, you know what? We're getting more engagement rates over here on this ad combination with the visuals and the message. So we're going to run this now and turn it into a lead generation campaign. Also about digital, the algorithms have to have time to learn your ad and what you're trying to do, what consumer you are reaching. So the longer you're on there, the more data you have to say, yeah, this is actually reaching some very high quality leads. So the lead generation is a little more involved, where you will have a form in the application itself, whether it's like Facebook as an example, or on a page on your website where they're completing a contact form so you can contact them. We run campaigns anywhere from 3 to 6 months. We also shut down campaigns during some parts of the year unless you have a huge advertising budget. Q4 is really difficult because you're competing with Thanksgiving, with Christmas, and everybody out there. And so the bid rates tend to be a little bit higher. So, a lot of this boils down to what is your product and service, where your target audience is, and what do you want to see from the campaign. But we've gotten great results between 3 months and 6 months, and then, of course, longer.
What would you say is the mistakes that marketers make?
I would say for advertising specifically, it's not monitoring the ads on a day in and day out basis and really understanding what is engaging the audience and being able to make changes to that. That's where, in fact, online is fantastic versus offline. If you have, say, a billboard campaign going on and whoops, you haven't tested the message and you're not getting traction. Whereas with a digital campaign, you are able to change images and messaging and things like that. So that's why that A/B testing is really important up front. The other mistake I see is just moving straight into the tactic without doing all those steps we've talked about today. Do you have the right message? Do you know where your audiences are? So all of that, upfront strategy is really critical. And that usually takes anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks to really do it well. And then you're able to go out in the market with confidence that you have the right message and the right touch points to reach your audiences.
So now let's talk about AI. Do you guys use AI in regards to marketing?
No, it's interesting. We are. You have to be, and I guess one of the things, if I had a crystal ball, it's like, how is AI ultimately going to be used? There's obviously good and bad around AI. We use a platform called Simplified, and in that, it allows you to, let's say you want to build out a lot of blogs and thought leadership. So it actually can help you write ads. It helps you do video and ad copy and things like that. But you also have to be aware of the bias in AI as well. So take it with a grain of salt. Like, it can help you jumpstart your ideas, but at the end of the day, you really want to sit back and use your own expertise to really tailor that content to your audience, knowing the audience the way you do.
Last words in regards to what we talk about, marketing in general?
Oh, wow. Well, it's, again, I think the number one thing to get across to your audience is to say it's not a one-time, one and done. Plus, your marketing plan is going to change. Once you build out that strategy, your market changes. Everything is dynamic. So you have to keep up with trends in the marketplace. And it takes effort to do that. So that's why we subscribe to the philosophy of, teaching you how to fish, because there's so much. I mean, we could spend literally a day just talking about one of these elements, just talking about digital advertising. We could spend 8 hours on that. So that's why, we develop these courses and work with people in a way as we're working through a process, you're understanding that process and gaining the knowledge, more knowledge to do so. And learning is ongoing. Gosh, I've been at this for how many years? I mean, I'm going to age myself here, but a long time. I'd say like 30 plus years, right? And I'm amazed that like way back when we started our company, and we were a virtual company, we've had this company for 21 years, and we didn't have Zoom, and we didn't have, we had to do everything the old fashioned way by phone call and email. So in a way, technology has really accelerated the whole field of marketing and communications, and it's wonderful, and it's also a full-time job, just kind of keeping up with all the trends as well. So that's why learning, you got to always learn. Keep searching for information, keep adding to your toolkit, and you'll be successful.
Where can people learn more about you and your company on social media and the internet?
Sure, they can go to fullcapacitymarketing.com. You can, all of our socials are posted there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and ask to be a part of our social media work group. We have a work group of over 2,200 customers that post and share challenges. How did you do this? We learn from each other. We have blog posts there and eBooks that are free. And then we just launched an eFCM. If you click on that, eFCM Learning Hub on our website, and you'll see all of our courses that are now available. And we really get into this and diving into each module and giving you a step-by-step of helping you build an actual marketing plan for your organization.
Great. Thanks, Celina, for being here. We were supposed to do that from before, but but things happen, life happened. But we did it. It was an episode that I was looking forward to do, marketing. So thank you for your time and all the information that you brought. It was very great. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Welcome to A Better Lifestyle. My name is Richard.lesperance, and I go by the name of my man, Richard. And I was with Celina Shands, and we'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Bye.